Like I told you, I thought I'd read you another story, and I thought I'd carry on with The Lord of the Rings. However, we have company tonight. The young lad will be joining us for the book reading. So, where we are in the story is Frodo and his company just came back from Weathertop, and he was stabbed in the shoulder, and a piece of the blade stayed in it for 17 days. He's woken up now in the house of Elrond in Rivendell. So, Frodo woke and found himself lying in bed. At first, he thought that he had slept late, after a long, unpleasant dream that still hovered on the edge of a memory. Or perhaps he had been ill. But the ceiling looked strange. It was flat, and it had dark beams richly carved. He lay a little longer, looking on patches of sunlight on the wall, and listened to the sound of the waterfall. "Where am I, and what time is it?" he said aloud to the ceiling. "In the house of Elrond, and it is 10 o'clock in the morning," said a voice. "It is the morning of October 24th, if you want to know." "Gandalf!" Frodo cried, sitting up. There was the old wizard, sitting in the chair by the open window. "Yes," he said, "I'm here. And you are lucky to be here too, after all the absurd things you have done since you left home." Frodo lay down again. He felt too comfortable and peaceful to argue, and in any case, he did not think that he would get better of an argument. He was fully awake now, and the memory of the journey was returning. The disastrous shortcut through the old forest, the accident at the prancing pony, and his madness in putting on the ring in the dell under the Weathertop. While he was thinking of all these things and trying in vain to bring his memory down to arriving in Rivendell, there was a long silence, broken only by the soft puffs of Gandalf's pipe as he blew white smoke rings through the window. "Where's Sam?" Frodo asked at length. "And the others are all right?" "Yes, they are all safe and sound," answered Gandalf. "Sam was here until I sent him off to get some rest, about a half hour ago." "What happened at the ford?" said Frodo. "It all seems so dim, somehow, and yet it still does." "Yes, it would. You were beginning to fade," answered Gandalf. "The wound was overcoming you at last. A few more hours and you have been beyond our aid. But you have some strength in you, my dear hobbit, as you showed at the Barrow. That touch was in go, perhaps the most dangerous moment of all. I wish I could have held out at Weathertop." "You seem to know a great deal already," said Frodo. "I have not spoken to the others about the Barrow. At first it was too horrible, and afterwards there were other things to think about. How do you know about it?" "You have talked long in your sleep, Frodo," said Gandalf gently, "and it had not been hard for me to read your mind and memory. Do not worry, though I said absurd just now. I did not mean it. I think well of you and the others. It is no small feat to have come so far and through such dangers, still bearing the ring." "We should have never done it without Strider," said Frodo. "But we needed you. I did not know what to do without you." I was delayed," said Gandalf, "and that nearly proved to our ruin. And yet I am not sure if it may have been better so." "I wish you would tell me what happened." "All in good time. You are not supposed to talk or worry about anything today, by Elrond's orders." "But talking would stop me thinking and wondering, which is quite tiring," said Frodo. "I am wide awake now, and I remember so many things that I want explaining." "Why were you delayed? You ought to tell me that at least." "You will soon hear all you wish to know," said Gandalf. "We shall have a council, and soon you will be well enough. At the moment I will only say that I was held captive." "You?" cried Frodo. "Yes, I, Gandalf the Grey," said the wizard solemnly. "There are many powers in the world for good and for evil, some greater than I. Against some I have not been measured, but my time is coming. The Morgul Lord and his Black Riders have come forth. War is preparing." "Then you knew of the Black Riders already, before I met them?" "Yes, I knew of them. Indeed, I spoke of one of them to you before, for the Black Riders are the Ringwraiths, the 9 servants of the Lord of the Rings.
but I did not know that they had arisen again, or I should have fled with you at once. I heard news of them only after I have left you in June, but that story must wait. For the moment, we have been saved from disaster by Aragorn."
"Yes," said Frodo, "it was Strider that saved us. Yet I was afraid of him at first. Sam never quite trusted him, I think. Not at any rate until we met Glorfindel." Gandalf smiled.
"I have heard all about Sam," he said. "He has no more doubts now."
"I'm glad," said Frodo, "for I have become very fond of Strider. Well, fond is not the right word. I mean, he is dear to me, though he is strange and grim at times. In fact, he reminds me often of you. I didn't know that any of the big people were like that. I thought, well, they were just big and rather stupid. Kind of stupid like Butterbur, or stupid and wicked like Bill Ferny. But then we don't know much about men in the Shire, except perhaps the Breelanders."
"You don't know much about them at all, if you think that old Barliman is stupid," said Gandalf. "He is wise enough on his own ground. He thinks less than he talks, and slower than he can get through the brick wall, as they say in Bree. But there are few left in Middle-earth like Aragorn, son of Arathorn. The race of kings from over the sea is nearly at an end. It may be that with this War of the Ring will be their last adventure."
"Do you really mean that Strider is one of the people of the old kings?" said Frodo in wonder. "I thought they had all vanished long ago. I thought he was only a ranger."
"Only a ranger," cried Gandalf. "My dear Frodo, that is just what the rangers are. The last remnant of the north of the great people, the men of the west. They have helped me before, and I shall need their help in the days to come. For we have reached Rivendell, but the ring is not yet at rest."
"I suppose not," said Frodo. "But so far, my only thought has been to get here, and I hope I shan't have to go any further. It is very pleasant just to rest. I have had just a month of exile and adventure, and I find that has been so much that all that I want." He fell silent and shut his eyes, and after a while he spoke again. "I have been reckoning," he said, "and I can't bring the total up to October the 24th. It ought to be the 21st. We must have reached the ford by the 20th.
"You have talked and reckoned more than is good for you," said Gandalf. "How do eyesight and shoulder feel now?"
"I don't know," Frodo answered. "They don't feel well at all, which is, I guess, an improvement, but..." He made an effort. "I can move my arm again a little. Yes, it is coming back to life. It is not cold," he added, touching his left hand to his right.
"Good," said Gandalf. "It is mending fast, and you shall be soon sound again. Elrond has cured you, and he has tended you for days, ever since you were brought in."
"Days?" said Frodo.
"Well, 4 nights and 3 days, to be exact. The elves have brought you from the ford on the night of the 20th, and this is where you lost count. We have been terribly anxious, and Sam has hardly left your side day or night except to run messages. Elrond is a master of healing, but the weapons of the enemy are deadly. To tell you the truth, I had very little hope, for I suspected that there was some fragment of the blade still closed. But it had not been found, alas. Then Elrond removed the splinter. It was deeply buried, and it was working inward."
Frodo shuddered, remembering the cruel knife and the notched blade that had vanished in Strider's hands.
"Don't be alarmed," said Gandalf. "It is gone now. It has been melted, and it seems that the hobbits fade very reluctantly. I have known strong warriors of the big people, and who would have been quickly overcome by that splinter, which you bore for 17 days.
What would they have done to me?" asked Frodo. What were the riders trying to do?"
"They tried to pierce your heart with the Morgul knife, which remains in the wound. If they had succeeded, you would have become like they are, only weaker and under their command. You would have become a wraith under the dominion of the Dark Lord, and he would have tormented you for trying to keep his ring. If any greater torment were possible than being robbed of it and seeing it on his hand."
"Thank goodness I did not realize the horrible danger," Frodo said faintly. "I was mortally afraid, of course, but if I had known more, I should not have dared to even move. It is a marvel that I escaped."
"Yes, fortune and fate has helped you," said Gandalf, "not to mention courage, for your heart was not touched, and only your shoulder was pierced. and that was because you resisted at last. But it was terribly narrow shaved, to say the least. You were in the gravest peril while you wore the ring. Then you were half in the wraith world yourself, and they would have seized you. You could see them, and they could see you. I know, said Frodo. They were terrible to behold, but I wish I could not see them, but I wonder, why could we all see their horses? Because they are real horses, just as the black robes are real robes, but they wear to give shape to their nothingness, and when they have dealings to do with the living. Then why do the black horses endure such riders? All other animals are terrified when they draw near. Even the elf horse of Glorfindel, the dogs howl and the geese scream at them. Because these are horses born and bred at the service of the Dark Lord in Mordor. Not all servants and chattels are wraiths. There are orcs and trolls, and there are wargs and werewolves, and all have been and still many men, warriors and kings that walk alive under the sun, and you are yet under his sway. And their number is growing daily. What about Rivendell and the elves? Is Rivendell safe? Yes, at present, until all else is conquered. The elves may fear the Dark Lord, and they may fly before him. But never again will they listen to him or serve him. And here in Rivendell there live some of his chief foes, the elven wise, lords of the Eldar from beyond the furthest seas. They do not fear the ringwraiths, for those who have dealt in the blessed realm live at once in both worlds, and against both seen and the unseen have great power. I thought that I saw a white figure that shone and did not grow dim like the others. Was that Glorfindel then? Yes, you saw him for a moment as he is upon the other side, one of the mighty of the firstborn. He is an elf lord of a house of princes. Indeed, there is a power to Rivendell to withstand the might of Mordor for a while, and yet elsewhere powers still dwell. There is power, too, of another kind in the Shire, but all places will soon become islands under siege. If things go on as they are, the Dark Lord is putting forth all his strength. Still, he said, standing suddenly and sticking out his chin, while his beard went stiff and straight to the bristling wire, we must keep up our courage. You will soon be well, if I do not talk to you to death. You are in Rivendell, and you need not worry about anything for the present. I haven't had any courage to keep up, said Frodo, but I am not worried at this moment. Just give me news of my friends and tell me the end of my affair at the ford, and as I keep on asking, and I shall be content for the present. After that, I shall have another deep sleep, I think, but I shan't be able to close my eyes until you have finished telling me the story. Gandalf moved his chair to the bedside and took a good look at Frodo. The color had come back to his face, and his eyes were clear and fully awake. He was smiling, and there seemed to be little wrong with him. But to the wizard's eye there was a faint change, just a hint as if it were transparency about him, and especially about the left hand that lay outside, uncovered of the coverlet. Still, that must be expected, said Gandalf to himself. He is not half through yet. And to what will come in the end, not even Elrond can foretell. Not too evil, I think. He may become like a glass filled with a clear light to see through what you can. You look splendid, he said aloud. I will risk a brief tale without consulting Elrond, but quite brief, mind you, and then you must sleep again. This is what happened as far as I can gather. The riders made straight for you as soon as you fled. They did not need guidance of their horses any longer. You had become visible to them. Being already on the threshold of their world, also the ring drew them. Your friends sprang aside off the road, or they would have been ridden down. They knew nothing that they could save you, if the white horse could not. The riders were too swift to overtake, and too many to oppose. On foot, even Glorfindel and Aragorn together could not withstand all the nine at once. When the ringwraith swept by, your friends ran up behind. Close to the ford there was a small hollow behind the road, marked by a few stunted trees. There they hastily kindled a fire, for Glorfindel knew the flood would come down if the riders tried to cross, and then they would have to deal with the many that were left on this side of the river. The moment that the flood appeared, he rushed out, followed by Aragorn and the others with the flaming brands. Caught between fire and water and seeing an elf lord revealed in his wrath, they were dismayed, and the horses were stricken with madness. There they carried away with the first assault of the flood, and the others now hurled down the water by horses and overwhelmed. And that is the end of the Black Riders? Asked Frodo. No, said Gandalf. Their horses must have perished, and without them they are crippled. But they themselves cannot be easily destroyed. However, there is nothing more to fear from them at the present. Your friends crossed the flood and had passed. They had found you lying on your face on top of the bank, with a broken sword under you. The horse was standing guard beside you. You were pale and cold, and they feared that you were dead, or worse. Elrond's folk met them, carrying you slowly towards Rivendell. Who made the flood? Asked Frodo. Elrond commanded it, Gandalf answered. The river of this valley is under his power, and it will rise in anger, and he has great need to bar the ford. As soon as the captain of the Ringwraiths rode into the water, the flood was released. If I may say so, I added a few touches of my own. You may not have noticed, but some of the waves took form of great white horses with shining white riders. And they were many rolling and grinding boulders. For the moment I was afraid that we had let loose too fierce a wrath, and the flood would get out of hand and wash you all away. There is a great vigor in the waters that come down from the snows of the Misty Mountains. Yes, it all comes back to me now, said Frodo. The tremendous roaring, I thought I was drowning with my friends and enemies and all, but we are now safe. Gandalf looked quickly at Frodo, but he had shut his eyes. Yes, you are all safe for the present. Soon there will be feasting and merrymaking to celebrate the victory at the Ford of Ruin, and you will be there in places of all honor. Splendid, said Frodo. It is wonderful that Elrond and Glorfindel and such great lords, not to mention Strider, should take so much trouble to show me such kindness. Well, there are many reasons why they should, said Gandalf, smiling. I am one good reason, the ring is another, and you are the ring-bearer. And you are the heir of Bilbo, the ring-finder. Dear Bilbo, said Frodo sleepily. I wonder where he is. I wish he was here and could hear all about it. It would have made him laugh. The cow that jumped over the moon and the poor troll. With that he fell asleep. That was a story, or a song that Frodo sung earlier in The Prancing Pony. It was a big mistake that he made. I'll tell you about it later. Oh, it's been 17 minutes already. Wild. Let's see if I can get to 20. Frodo was now safe in the last homely house east of the sea. That house was, as Bilbo had long reported, a perfect house, where you like food or sleep or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking, or a pleasant mixture of them all. Merely to be there was a cure for the weariness of fear and of sadness. As the evening drew on, Frodo woke up again, and he found that he no longer felt in need of sleep, and had a mind for food and drink, and probably for singing and storytelling afterwards. He got up out of bed and discovered that his arm was nearly useful again as it ever had been. He found laid ready clean garments of green cloth fitted him excellently. Looking in a mirror, he was startled to see a much thinner reflection of himself than he remembered. It looked remarkably like the young nephew of Bilbo, who used to go tramping with his uncle in the Shire, but his eyes looked out at him thoughtfully. Yes, you have seen a thing or two since you last peeped through the looking-glass, he said to his reflection. But now, let's go merry-meeting. He stretched out his arms and whistled a tune. At that moment there was a knock on the door, and Sam came in. He ran to Frodo and took his hand awkwardly and shyly. He stroked it gently, and then he blushed, turning hastily away. Hello, Sam, said Frodo. It's warm, said Sam, meaning your hand, Mr. Frodo. It felt so cold, though, through the long nights. What glory and trumpets, he cried, turning round again with his shining eyes and dancing on the floor. It's fine to see you up again yourself. Gandalf asked me to come and see if you were ready to come down. I thought he was joking. I am ready, said Frodo. Let's go and look for the rest of the party. I suppose that'll do for now. It was a good long stint. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you tomorrow.